Okay, I'm going to show you how to make some spun sugar, those little sugary decorations that you see on top of posh desserts. So I've got my pan and I've got about 120 grams of sugar in here, and I'm just going to turn it on to a medium heat. You're never normally going to need as much sugar as that, but it makes it so much easier to work with unless you've got a tiny little pan. It's just easier to do. I normally say at least 100 grams of sugar. So all we're going to do is just leave this on the heat, and it will start to caramelise and eventually turn into a caramel, and then from that we'll be able to make all the fancy little shapes. So there's nothing really to do at the moment, so you just leave it on the heat. Okay, it's been just over a minute now, and as you can see, around the edges the sugar's just starting to caramelise and just starting to brown. So you can just move the pan around just to try and mix things through. The least that you can do with your wooden spoon the better, but we will need to probably just help it along in a second. And once it starts to getting to this stage where it is melting, turn the heat down so it's nice and low heat, otherwise it'll all just burn. And see, even in the time that it's taken me just to boil you there for a few seconds, it should be melting even more now. And just keep moving the pan around over the heat, and then it'll take probably about another minute or so just to melt completely. So I'm just going to now, just to help it along for the final little bit, if we don't do this, the outside will probably start burning. So just very gently with your wooden spoon, just mixing it together. And you should be able to smell that incredible caramel smell now. Don't touch it though, because this will be very, very, very hot. There you go. It's almost melted. And what we want to do is we want to get this nice and runny, and then we'll take it off the heat for about a minute and just allow it to start to harden again, because that's the point, just as it's starting to set, that we can start to do all the fun fancy things with. So there we go, that's gone really nice and melted now. So you can I'm just going to turn the heat off and just allow this just to cool, just for a maximum of a minute, but you'll see what it'll look like, what consistency we're going to go for. Okay, it's been about a minute. I've moved to my work surface because it's easier to show you this, and as you can see, the caramel's just starting to set again. It's nowhere near as runny. I'm just using one of these little burners just to leave the pan on so it doesn't go completely cold, and it'll just keep it slightly warm and just at the right consistency. So the first thing that we're going to show you how to do is just very simply, using a bit of greaseproof paper, is just drizzle a little bit of the sugar onto that to make a very, very basic little shape. So pick up your pan and your fork, and then with your fork you just want to drizzle some sugar onto there we go, nice little shape, like that, however you want, onto your greaseproof paper, and then that will set pretty much instantly so that you can peel it off. It hasn't quite set, and then that will be a nice little shape for you. Now the next thing we're going to do is those really pretty little sugar baskets. So you can see the consistency now. This is really good. It's starting to get really nice and thick. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to use one of these sharpening steels, but a wooden spoon handle or anything round. But if you use a wooden spoon, pop it in the fridge. But the consistency is now going really nice and thick. So just load up your fork, hold your steel out in front of you, and then what we're going to do is just hold the fork up at a really nice high angle, allow it to start to drip, and then moving the sharpening steel or your wooden spoon back and forth to catch the drips, like this. And all these little strands, they're just setting as it's cooling in the air really, and it's just being caught by the steel. There we go. And then you just have to take this off, and then lightly with your hands just fold it together into a little ball like that, and then that can sit on top of your dessert. Okay, my caramel's now starting to get a little bit too thick, so I'm just going to pop it on the hob. Just give it a blast for 30 seconds on the hob, just a little blast of heat, and then it'll just loosen it again ever so slightly. When it gets too hot, too hard, it won't drip. You'll just form into a big blob and it won't work at all. And you can see that it's gone liquidy again, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Nice liquid when you load up your fork. So the next one we're going to do is one that'll be like a little nest, which is, we're going to use the back of the ladle and do nice little crisscrosses over it so that it'll sit up and retain the shape of the ladle, or at least that's the plan. So again, with your ladle in one hand and load up your fork with the caramel in the other. And then from a nice height, just want to drizzle back and forth. Good. All over the ladle. It's starting to get really nice and wiry now. You should be able to stretch it and go all the way round. Go. See, it's like fine wire now. Go. And then just ease that off. Carefully pop it down, and you've got a little nest. Not the best one, but you get the gist anyway, and that'll just sit over your nice little dessert. Okay, now we're going to do the most difficult one, which is the little sugary spirals. So using the sharpening steel, this is the one to do last when the caramel's getting really, really nice and thick. So again, load up your spoon, your fork, hold your steel, and then when the strand is getting really, really thin, that's when, try, not quite yet, when you'll notice, you'll see when it gets really, really thin. There we go, no, it's not even there yet. Okay, let's try now. There we go, just rolling it round the blade. That'll do, I'm not going to push my luck. And then it should snap at either end. These are very, very delicate. There we go. And that can just go nicely on top of your dessert. You've made one little nest, one little spiral, and one little sort of cluster ball. But that's it done. And to get rid of the caramel out of your pan, just leave it to soak in boiling water. And off your spoon, just pop your spoon in a mug of boiling water. But have fun with this, and I hope that that's shown you how to make some pretty little sugar shapes.